While Japan, a staunch disciple of the US, is flexing its muscles against China, President Donald Trump recently praised the relationship between the two countries. According to Donald Trump, the US and China have a very good relationship following their direct meeting in Seoul in October. Donald Trump confirmed he would visit China next April, and Xi Jinping would come to the US at the end of 2026. Furthermore, after reading posts on social media, many people even feel that China and the US are allies, not rivals. Specifically, the US Secretary of War recently wrote on social media that both the US and China have agreed to establish a direct communication channel between the two militaries to avoid conflict and de-escalate any issues that arise. Regarding the Taiwan issue, the US side has remained silent, pursuing a very ambiguous strategy that keeps the whole world on edge. As for China, naturally, in this phone call, Xi Jinping firmly reaffirmed that Taiwan's return to China is part of the post-World War II world order. In short, Taiwan is a province of China. This is a default, an inseparable part of the territory, and China is ready to use all means to achieve unification, including force. Of course, China's consistent principle remains dialogue for unification, but nothing is impossible. If you are too stubborn, I will see this through with you until the end. At the same time, Xi Jinping made a very hidden and profound statement. China and the US once fought side by side against fascism and militarism. Now, the two countries should cooperate to protect the achievements of World War II. Many people believe this is China's way of cautioning Japan. Hey Japan, you better watch out! Lately, you've been speaking too boldly. I'm close friends with the US, not some trifling adversary. Be careful, or I'll cooperate with the US to punch you, and you won't be able to defend yourself easily. It has happened before in history. The US once cooperated with China to defeat fascist Japan. Nothing is impossible with the US, understand? Therefore, if you are smart and sensible, you must leave yourself a path for survival. If the US suddenly strangles you, you'll still have China to cooperate with. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. However, the Japanese side probably doesn't think so. Why should they need to be close to China? The two countries can't hate each other enough. Suddenly being told to be friendly is ridiculous. They can only ignore each other or fight fiercely, but Japan will never agree to be friends with China. History proves this. Japan has invaded China countless times, even causing horrifying massacres in Nanjing. 200,000 Chinese civilians were murdered. Furthermore, Japan even captured Chinese people to use as guinea pigs in laboratories to research biological weapons, starting as early as the 1947. This shows how barbaric Japan is. Deep down, the Japanese people are never afraid of China. They might fear the US, having suffered 2 atomic bombs. They might fear Russia, having been defeated by the Soviet Union in Manchuria long ago. But as for China, forget it. When has Japan ever lost a battle to China in history? So it is understandable that the Japanese are angry about being overshadowed by China now. Since they already hate each other, it would be better for them to declare it first to gain status. The newly appointed Prime Minister needs an event to unite the people, further consolidate relations with the US, and especially give the US a reason to bring nuclear weapons to protect them. What could be better? Therefore, Japan speaking loudly against China is also quite understandable. Many are speculating that the US only acts friendly towards China on the surface, but behind the scenes, there are very deep calculations. Without the US pulling the strings, Japan would not dare to speak so boldly. Compared to China, what is Japan in a fight? Excluding nuclear weapons alone, Japan has to call China grandpa. Therefore, this conflict between Japan and China is likely a ploy by the US. The goal is to consolidate its #1 position, forcing countries to follow the trajectory the US has drawn. Many believe the US is pressuring both Russia and Ukraine to stop fighting. The 28-point peace plan is too favorable for Russia. Even Putin praised it after reading it. But the problem is, China holds the key to this peace. China absolutely does not want Russia and Ukraine to be quiet, because if Russia settles down, the next contestant called will be China. China itself admitted this. They are determined never to let Russia lose. The question is, how can China be persuaded to agree to peace between Russia and Ukraine? The best way is to distract China with another issue that is more relevant to its immediate interests. And what issue is more tempting than the Taiwan story? Only Taiwan would make China let go of the Russia-Ukraine front. Thus, Taiwan must be pressed at all costs. Because right now, if Russia and Ukraine keep fighting as they are, the biggest beneficiary is China, no one else. China has naturally tied Russia down, forcing it to issue government bonds in yuan. Russia can only sell oil to one country, China. Clearly, the more Russia and Ukraine fight, the more China benefits. On the other side, the US has not earned a dime so far. They have lost a huge amount of money aiding Ukraine, yet Ukraine has still lost 1/5 of its territory. If Ukraine loses too much, who among the NATO allies will still trust the US? If Russia takes Ukraine, Europe will be like a fish on a cutting board. The US suffers double losses in this war, while China benefits completely. Therefore, the US desperately wants to find a way to restrain China, and the quickest way is to push the opponent to be distracted by a war close to its border. Just keep sparring with Japan. There's no need for an actual war. The US would be happy if China just keeps pulling out troops for year-round naval exercises around its borders. But if China stays peaceful and sits at home manufacturing chips, how can it be restrained? Not to mention, China is also very smart. It knows how to steal, then improve on the stolen goods to make them even better than the original. That's why many believe this is the real calculation of the US. The root goal is to make China support the peace plan in Russia and Ukraine. And the best way to force China to support it is for China to be preoccupied with an immediate concern. What story is better than the Taiwan story? At that point, the US will be free to focus on doing business with Russia and Ukraine. Rare earth elements and other resources will be abundant, and the US will no longer depend on China. On the Taiwan front, Japan will be the one spending money, not the US. Conversely, the deeper China sinks into the Taiwan issue, the more it will fall behind. But the unfortunate thing for China is that if it has to choose between protecting Russia and protecting Taiwan, China must choose to protect Taiwan. Taiwan is an immediate interest, while Russia is far away. China must even fight with its life to keep Taiwan. If Taiwan completely falls into the arms of the West, China will lose its outer defensive shield. It would be like skiing naked, easily resulting in a cold situation.